Welcome, folks, to this JMC webinar, Keeping on Top of Activities Compliance Reporting on this beautiful November day. I'm Jake Vanskoy. I'm joined by Brian Wall. Brian, do you want to say hi?
Yeah, it's Brian Wall, recently retired school administrator over here in Western Iowa.
Thank you very much. And Brian's going to be keeping an eye on the questions as we go through this very cool feature, time-saving feature for a lot of activities directors or possibly activities director secretaries. This is, we were talking kind of before we were getting going here about how, the folks that utilize JMC in this particular fashion can probably do away with a lot of spreadsheets and some kind of all over the place reporting that they currently have. So apropos to what we're talking about, making the most out of the activities module with compliance reporting in JMC Office, this is we're going to use actually a couple different modules here to show you how to run these compliance reports, so you can tell when your students are needing physicals or when they have not turned in their parent permission or concussion awareness forms. So activities directors and secretaries play a crucial role in managing the various fine arts and athletics activities offered by a school. Today, let's take a look at how JMC streamlines this process by providing tools for documenting physicals, parent permission, and concussion awareness forms, as well as generating compliance reports for all students involved in these activities. As always, we have our Q&A feature in Ring Central. So if you have a question at any time, please pop through and we'll answer those as we go. And we're going to start with documenting student compliance in JMC Office, which involves the health module. So you're going to begin by entering student health history. And you can do this one of two ways. You can do this individually, or you can do this for a group of students all at once. So probably the easiest way to go about entering this information, especially if you have all of this information on hand, would be to enter it in bulk. So the health history screening feature in JMC Office allows for efficient bulk entry of health assessment information, saving time and ensuring comprehensive records for a group of students. By selecting a group based on a grade, advisor, or course and section, health screening data can be entered for multiple students simultaneously. With options to fill down values and mark records as complete, managing health history assessments becomes streamlined and organized. Plus, you can easily print the list of assessment records for convenient reference. So kind of the thought that I had in mind for this is, typically at the beginning of the year, during registration, you have families fill out concussion awareness forms, you have students sign concussion awareness forms, and you have maybe parent permission slips coming in all at one time. So you have that full stack of papers. Now let's efficiently get that information into JMC. So we're going to conveniently bulk enter all those health assessment screenings for a group of students from the health history screening page. So that's health history screening. And step one, we're going to filter the students by selecting the desired group from the selection method drop-down list right up here. Step two, you'll select the desired grade, course, or advisor from the corresponding drop-down list to begin entering health screening information from the selected group of students. Step three, you'll select the appropriate health screening field. For this, you're probably going to use concussion awareness, parent permission, or physical exam athletic. And that's what's going to give you the three items that you are going to be entering for your students here for this activities compliance portion. Helpful tip, quickly enter health assessment information for a group of students by using the master record row or the fill down button for consistent data entry. Step four, place a check mark in the complete checkbox to manually mark record as complete, or it will be automatically marked when sufficient data has been entered. And then save the record. So click that save button. You can click the print button to print a copy of all of the students that have received that parent permission or concussion awareness. for future reference. So it's as simple as that. Let's take a quick live look at entering student health history information for a group of students. So again, I'm sitting here with my stack of student permission forms. So I'm going to go to health history screening. So health history screening. So I'm going to select, maybe I have them all in order for grade level. So I'm going to take all of my freshmen, and then I'm going to choose the appropriate record. So I've got, I'm going to start with probably like my parent permission. So I choose parent permission here, and this is just going to mark the student as having entered their parent permission. So I choose this checkbox, select that it's been completed. If I have one or two kids that have not filled out their parent permission, I can remove those students from here and remove the date so that those records are not included. I can always come back later and add these records individually, which is what the second half of this is going to be. I click save, and it's letting me know that I have updated or created records for 17 students. So it's that simple to get that information. So if you're thinking about using spreadsheets to keep track of this information, using JMC to enter this information through the health screening is actually quicker and more efficient than entering all of this data into the spreadsheet. So you're already saving time by entering this data into JMC as opposed to a spreadsheet, which I know many folks are doing. So any questions on entering health history screening records for a group of students? Again, I'd start with my parent permission, and then I would go into my other areas such as, let's see here, what would the other one be? My concussion awareness here. And then I could do the physical exam athletic as well. Or I could enter those individually, depending on how often those are coming into the office. So Brian, do we have any questions coming in?
I'm not seeing any questions, Jake.
All right. Moving right along to entering student health history information individually. So this is one of those things we show you how to do it in group, because that's probably the most efficient way, and that's how you're going to collect most of that student data and get that entered into JMC. But after you've done that, you might have to go back and individually edit individual student records. So editing student health history is used to maintain individual health history records for students. Each health history record in JMC may contain the date, grade level, a check mark for flagging the record, and one or two other fields depending on the category. You can even attach documents to the student's health history to provide further information of the health records attached to a student. So let's explore how to edit a student's health history. We're going to begin in JMC Office, navigate to the health history, edit student health history page. So health history, edit student health history page. Step one, we're going to select the student to be edited by entering their name in the find field. So we're going to edit one individual student here. We're going to enter that student's name in the find field. Helpful tip, you can select the grade from the grade drop-down list to view records for just one specific grade level, or you can view all active students using this toggle right here. Step two, you click the add row link to add a new health history record for the currently displayed student, or you can edit an existing health history record by clicking the edit link for any record that's already in existence. You can also delete a record if a record is inapplicable. Just click that delete link there. Step three, enter or edit the category, date, grade, field, field AB from the appropriate drop-down list. So that category, that first drop-down list right there, that's where you're going to select concussion awareness, parent permission, or physical activities from that first category drop-down list. The date will be the date that you received the information, or the date that the student had completed this. So, the concussion awareness and the parent permission, usually, if that corresponds with the first day of your school year, that's when you received it. you'd enter that date into this field right here. For the physical exam, athletic physical exam, this would be the date that the physical was administered. You can flag a record by placing a check mark in that checkbox for later review. Step 4, you can attach a file to that student's health history record. So for the concussion awareness, if you wanted to attach the file of the physical or the actual signature, or you could attach a physical PDF as well. A helpful tip, if you'd like to remove a file from a student's record, you can click that change file link and then select the no file link, and that will remove the file. Step 5, click the print button to print a list of the health history records for the currently displayed students for your records, if you'd like to do that. So let's take a live look at entering an individual student health history record. So we are in health history, edit student health history. So we have the fast way of doing this for the majority of students, which is the health history screening. And now we've got the way to do this for individual students that might have maybe had a physical just last week, or might have just turned in their concussion awareness. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the student's name or select the student. And then I'm going to add records. So I see this used, you get a kid that just moved in. You might want to come in and enter this information individually. So we're going to start with concussion awareness. They turned it in on this day. I can add a comment if I would like. Click update. That saves the concussion awareness. Also add parent permission. Also on this current day, click update. So now I have 2 records: concussion awareness, parent permission, and a third. I'm going to choose the athletic, the physical for the athletic. So it's physical exam, athletic. There's 2 physical exams here, actually 4 physical exams: your kindergarten, your preschool physicals, because they might be a little bit different than an athletic physical. The athletic physical is actually what's going to help you run those compliance reports later on. So choosing physical exam, athletic, click update. And now I have entered all of the 3 basic categories that we're going to be referencing for that individual student. So any questions about entering this information for an individual student?
Not seeing any questions, Jake. I just throw in there that, we're in the health module, which is kind of might be considered to be the nurse's domain. But in this case, this kind of information, the physicals, concussion awareness, that's being tracked by maybe the athletic director, maybe the athletic director's secretary. So it's important for them to know that this is where they can put that information in, rather than juggle all their various spreadsheets.
That's a good point. Athletic directors might not know anything about the health module. So a little training can get those folks on board with this. Or if it's your nurse that would enter this information into JMC, either or, you might have to give permissions to activities directors or certain secretaries if they're going to be entering any of this information. But either way, no matter how your school decides to do it, it's an easy and efficient way to get that information into your system. So thank you for that, Brian. And once we have that information entered, we can now use the activities module to monitor when those physicals are going to expire, or when students are ineligible to participate because they don't have one of those important pieces. So we're going to start by adding the activities, and you might already know how to do this. We're going to pay close attention to the physical cutoff dates, and there are a few compliance cutoff dates that we can enter. The activity, as you might know, is any group of students that you would like to associate with a leader. So typically we think extracurriculars. You can use the activities module for a lot of things, but for our sake right now, we're talking probably about sports, or maybe even fine arts if you require some of those fields that we just mentioned for participation in the fine arts. But you'd add your sport, and when you add your sport, and this is going to be under activities definition. So under the activities module, edit activities definitions, and you might already have your activities entered. But there might be a few fields that you want to include if you're getting going with this activities compliance. And we'll talk about those here in just a second. So if you're adding a new activity, you'll click this add activity button. You'll enter a brief code and then the activity name, as well as placing a check mark if you want to include this activity on a transcript. Now, the meat of kind of what we're talking about for our purposes lives right here. We have physical exam dates, parent permission dates, and concussion awareness dates listed in association with an activity. And this is to help us quickly run those compliance reports later on down the road. So you would enter a date in the physical exam date, parent permission date, and concussion awareness date fields to indicate the oldest acceptable date for each field. So, you click that calendar icon and that's going to help you accept that oldest date. So for example, I'm looking for compliance and I need to see if I'm going back to, let's say a physical is, it's valid for 13 months in the state of Iowa. For some states, it might be 2 years. Other states, it might be a year. This would go off of, based off of when the activity occurs. So I'm thinking baseball. If I'm looking at baseball, what's the very last possible play date that that a baseball game could happen? State championship, for example. If physical is valid for 13 months, I'm going to go to that last possible play date and I'm going to subtract 13 months from it. And that's how I'm going to set the threshold for my physical exam. So I'm going to go a year and a month back from the last possible play date. So then when I run my report, any student that has a physical exam after that date is eligible. So they won't be flagged as non-compliant. And the same for my parent permission date and concussion awareness date. So, I might go back just to the beginning of the school year for this one, for these two, especially if I'm expecting most of everybody to have that information turned in at the first day of the school year. We do have a few other options if you're looking to utilize the activities module for a couple other purposes, including fees. And we have this iCal integration that's pretty slick as well. Not necessarily apropos to our activity compliance reports, but they're available. So if you want more information on that, I'd suggest you check out our activities or communication from the sideline webinar, and that'll get you set up for that. Once you've entered your dates, go ahead and click save. And then you'll want to make sure that you have a coach that is attached to your activity. So if you don't have a coach that's attached to the activity, add your head coach, add anybody, add all of your assistant coaches, even athletic directors that might be want to kept in the loop as far as any messaging that goes out within this activity. So you'll just select that coach from the coach advisor drop-down list their position in there and click save. And that's how you would enter them. So let's take a look at, in particular, those specific items that are going to pertain to activities monitoring here. So I'm under, should go to activities, not attendance. Sorry. Activities, edit activities definitions. Going to find my activity, find my sport. And then I'm going to come down here and make sure that my dates are listed here. So for baseball, for example, I know that the season ends July 21st of 2024. Baseball is a spring sport or a summer sport, so it's going to happen next calendar year. So I'm going to go back a year and then 1 month for 13 months for the state of Iowa. So my physical exam date is going to look like this. My parent permission date might be that first day of the school year, whenever I'm expecting most folks to turn in their permission and concussion awareness. So September 1st for both of those, I click save, and that's how I would associate an exam or parent permission date or concussion awareness date with an activity. The next step would be the compliance reports, unless there are any questions coming through.
Oh, no questions. I'm just going to put a plug in for this activities module. If you're not using it at your school, as Jake has already mentioned, it comes into play in a variety of ways. It can really help you out, not just for the compliance monitoring that we're going to be talking about, but in a number of other areas as well.
You read my mind, Brian. There are a number of reasons you would want to use this activities module. Everything from being able to send messages to granting permission for coaches that might not be a part of your district to be able to monitor some very important student information, some information that they're going to want to have at their fingertips. So yeah, that's a great plug. I completely 100% agree. So getting into running these activities reports, these are activities queries, if you will, and we're talking about specifically running permission, physical, and concussion reports. So after defining your activities and adding your students to those rosters, activities directors and office professionals will be able to run a variety of reports from physical compliance to special commendations. See which students have turned in a parent permission form, when physicals are due to expire, and get a list of all your first team conference performers by running these reports in JMC Office. In JMC Office, you'll head to activities query or activity query to get started. So activities query to get started. Step one, you'll select a radio button in the query type box to run one of the following reports. And the ones that we're going to be focusing on are the activity compliance, which the activity compliance runs all three of those simultaneously. So you're going to see the physical date, the most recent physical date, the parent permission status, and the concussion awareness status, all from one. And that's provided you have those three dates filled out for each activity listed. Other reports, you can run a physical compliance report individually. So this will allow you to view students who do not have valid physicals listed in the health module. So you would enter that physical cutoff date right here. So you go back 13 months from the current day, because if you're running this compliance report on the current day, you'd go back to as long as your physicals are going to be eligible for, enter that information in here, click preview, and that's going to give you a list of all of the students that do not have a valid physical. So the kids that you're going to be seeing in this report, so only the students who do not have a physical within that window are going to be displayed. So that's important to note. If you do not see them on the list, that means they're good to go. The students that you're going to see here are going to be the kids that don't have, that are non-compliant. Helpful tips: set the physical cutoff date in accordance with how long student physicals are valid according to your state. And that's kind of what I mentioned before. So for example, if a physical is valid for 1 year, you'd go back 1 year from the current date to enter that valid cutoff date. Similarly with the parent permission, we can run a specific compliance report for parent permission. So you can view students who do not have a valid parent permission listed on the health history page. So entering the starting date in that cutoff field. So if you needed a new parent permission entered after September 1st, for example, you'd enter that permission cutoff date in here, click the preview button, and then the students listed will not have permission or will not be listed with permission. And then your compliance, physical, parent permission, and concussion awareness, as I mentioned before, these are all three reports. So you're going to see a report that looks like this: has physical, has permission, has concussion awareness. It will list whether or not they have it, or if they do not. If a yes appears in the column, the student is compliant with that specific field. If you do not see, you'll see a date listed if they're not compliant, or if you see a dash, you'll know that that student does not have anything listed in the health module for either one of those either one of those compliance pieces. The special accommodations, this is another report that you can run, and this is more of a plug for why to use the activities module in general. The special accommodations, you can list those right there in JMC. So if you wanted to include them on transcripts, kids named captain, all conference, that sort of stuff, you can include that in here as well. And you can also run that activities query to view your special accommodations. The third piece to that, we went through the first two individually. So the physical compliance, the parent permission compliance. Your third piece of the compliance reporting, the concussion awareness, you can also enter individually. This is where you will see the students that do not have up-to-date concussion awareness listed in JMC office on that health history page. So the same works for the parent permission. You'd enter that cutoff date in the field, you'd click preview, and then you'll get a list of all students that do not have a health history record for concussion awareness listed as of this date, between the window of this date and the day that you're running the report. We also have a return to play or participate. You can view a list of students who are ineligible to participate due to health reasons. You would actually have to mark that student as ineligible to play or participate in the health module. We can show you where to go to do that. We were kind of playing around with that earlier too. So there are two reasons a student could be marked ineligible in JMC. You could use the health, or you could use the activities module to mark a student as ineligible for, say, a conduct reason. Step 2, you click preview to view any of these reports. And step 3, you click that print button to print a list of any of the reports that you've run here. So let's take a live look at running activities queries. So this might not look all that pretty because we're kind of dealing with some fake data, but I'm going to head to activities, activity query. And I've already entered some students as having received their physical, but if I choose compliance for physical, I'm going to go back to, let's see here. I'm going to have to go all the way back to a year from today. So instead of 2023, November 8th, 2023, I'm going to go November 8th, 2022. And any student that does not have a physical listed between today's date and last year at this time. So John Aseth, for example, I'm going to show you how to get rid of John Aseth off of this list. So you'll notice I have a ton of kids because we don't typically mark any kids as having a physical record in JMC unless we have to. So I just want you to focus on John Aseth. So we ran this cutoff date all the way back from 11/8/22, saying if you have a physical between this date and the current date that I'm running this, you will not be listed on this report. So let's make John's go away. Let's give him a physical. So I'm going to go to the health module. I'm going to go to health history, edit student health history. And I'm going to go find John Aseth. Actually, I think John might be inactive, which is why he's not showing up on this list. Yeah, there's John. He's inactive. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just create one for you so you can see him go away. So I'm going to go to what was I running before? Was it a concussion? No, it was physical. So I'm going to give him an athletic physical. And I'm going to date it for yesterday. So let's say he came in yesterday, had it completed. So I just added it for yesterday. So now he has a physical in between the date that's entered in the cutoff field and the current date. So if I click preview here, John's going to go away, and there he goes away. So as long as they have a physical listed within that cutoff date, then they will no longer be on your report. So if you will, you're just seeing the naughty kids or the kids that don't have the stuff that they need. So same holds true with any of these individual reports. So you got the compliance, the parent permission, and you've got the compliance concussion awareness. So if I can run all three at the same time, If I click this top one, the activities compliance, it's going to show by the individual activity. It's going to use the dates that I've referenced. So I select this, and now I've sorted this report by activity. So now based off of the dates that I entered for baseball, for example, I can tell, all right, this student has a physical. The physical was listed 5/24/23. So they're good. That physical has been taken early enough. We're in good standing there. Do not have parent permission, do not have concussion awareness, according to the dates that are listed under activities, edit activities definitions. So if I reference here, let's go to baseball. Okay, so 6/21/23 is the date that they need to have a physical by. Okay, this kid, his physical was taken 5/24/23. So early is not a good sign. That's not good here. So in order for James to be considered eligible, he would have to have a more recent physical. So let's mark James as compliant with all of the pieces. So if we go in here, so he needs to have parent permission date, concussion awareness date after 1/9/1/23, and then a physical after 6/21/23. So let's go to, who am I looking at? James Asith. There's James. Let's give him a physical exam as of 11/1. Let's give him a concussion awareness as of 11/1. And let's give him a parent permission as of 11/1. All right, great. So now when I come back and run this report, now you can see that James Asith has the physical. There isn't an early designation indicating that the date is earlier than what the prescribed date is. It shows that he has permission and he has his concussion awareness. So this activities compliance report is going to be the one that you're going to want to run if you have your activities set up as we showed you right here. So you can run this kind of on the fly as like using the compliance aspect. So if we use compliance, physical, parent permission, concussion awareness, the difference is you would have to enter the dates in here physically. So if you wanted to say, go back a year from the current date and so forth. But if you have your activities set up correctly, you could come in and run this activities compliance report. You could sort it by activity. So then when you print off this list, you've got your roster of kids that are out for each of those sports. And you could use this information to kind of go down your list to see who's eligible for baseball, who's eligible for football, who's eligible for volleyball, etc. So any questions on any of that, Brian?
I don't see any, Jake.
All right. Time for some JMC news and upcoming events. So we're into November already. The third week in November, we have our third installment of the new admin workshop, and we're introducing JMC's collaboration tools. So make sure to check out all that introduction webinar so you can see all of those great tools that we have to offer for collaborating, whether it be with teachers, with families, everybody in the school community. 11/22, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, we have features to be thankful for, always a fan favorite. 11:30, we're introducing the refreshed new family enrollment portal. So we're continuing to plug away at our program refresh here, and our next up to bat would be the new family enrollment portal. So that'll be the next to get the new look and feel. So we'll be going over what that's going to look like for your new families. And then on December 7th, we've got reporting ESA students for Iowa non-public schools. So I know it's a hot button issue in the state of Iowa. Students that are receiving ESA funds, education savings account funds. Now we have the ability to track those students and report them to the state right from JMC. Calling all shared superintendents now through March 31st of 2024. If you switch your second district to JMC, you'll get it free. So give our sales team a call at 1-800-524-8182 extension 2 or email sales@jmcinc.com to learn more. Interested in adding this portal to your district software plan, the community messenger or any, you can email sales to get that community messenger, our brand new community messenger up and running for your school, 42 cents a student. As mentioned earlier, you can join us for that new administrator workshop series, that third installment on November 15th by clicking that link and registering here. Session 3 will dive into how you can eliminate third-party software to streamline your SIS, making it easier for you to navigate and better to consolidate for your spending. So a few of the all-in-one solutions we'll explore in this webinar would be the JMC's Flex Scheduler, absent tardy form letters, and the newest innovation, the Community Message Center. As always, we invite you to be social with us. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Online JMC, or check out our blog at jmcinc.com/news. For Brian Wall, I'm Jake Vanscoy, thanking you for joining us for this weekly webinar, and we'll catch you on the flip side.